It's not a question of clear signal. A question of quality signal. It's not a question of intelligent discourse. It's never been a question about who stands out unique. That's really cool. All right, raise your glasses, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, this toast goes to 1921. We are a question about who we are. We are. We are.
Love music, love life. You're welcome to Lagos Talks right here on Smooth 98.1. Here we love music indeed. We love life, and we also love to talk about discussions or talk about topics rather that aim to educate, to enlighten, and also to have you have better understanding of some of the key issues alongside solutions to it. So we don't just rant, we don't just vent, we also talk about the solutions to these issues. Now, on a day like this, 27th of March, 2025, we're having it a little bit different. And today we are talking about the numbers, the markets, and what is happening with the markets. Today, we are looking at the capital markets Q1. But before you say, what is that to me and how is that my business? We're looking at it from the perspective of the average Nigerian. So when we analyze the numbers for the Q1 and we're looking at the projection for Q2, what is the implication for the average Nigerian? And that is what we're doing this morning for the next 30 minutes on Lagos Talks. As always, you're welcome to join this conversation. Ask your questions if you have any, and your contributions if you have any as well. And the WhatsApp line to send your messages to is 0809 444 0981. We're currently live on YouTube. It means you can see my face and the face of my guest, and also share with someone who you think needs this information or needs the clarity. You can also use that to drop your comments if you have any, and you can go back to it later on to stream at Smooth 981 FM Lagos is the handle you're searching for on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. My guest is the Chief Strategy Officer, Central Securities Clearance System PLC, and he is Femi Onifade. Good morning.
Good morning, Oluwaseun, and good morning, Lagos Talks. Pleasure to be here.
All right, so let's dive right into it and talk about the stock market's performance. But for the average Nigerian, what does it really mean when we talk about the Q1 and we say that if it struggled or it performed well? Does that mean when it performs well, there is more money for me in my pocket, or maybe it's a long-term thing? Or if it struggled, what's the implication for the average Nigerian?
Okay, so one way we can look at this is if you think of the market as a means of measuring economic activity and what's the importance of economic activity. I'm sure many people have heard of the gross domestic product, GDP. Now, GDP in layman's terms is like the wealth of the nation. And why should that matter to me? Think of it as the wealth of the nation is the wealth that is all around you in Nigeria that has been created that year. Now, why is that important? If you were within a family, the wealth around you is the first source of income that you can tap into. So before you go across the hall to tap your neighbor's income anyway. So it's important, the more of that wealth that we have, the better for you potentially and everybody around us. So if the market measures the potential of the economy to create wealth, that's why it's important for us to pay attention to the market. The market does well. People have a positive view of the companies that are on the market, that they are producing, and their fortunes are going to be positive. Then it means also that the economy is doing well and more wealth is being created, which means more opportunities for all of us.
And so I'm certain somebody has a question on their mind and they're wondering what determines how well the market turns out, or what determines if the market is not doing well?
So there are a host of macro environment factors. A market in itself is a collection of economic agents essentially exchanging value, buying and selling, carrying out activity. So if the market is going to do well, or if you are going to gauge whether the market is doing well, you're looking essentially at people's expectations of the prices of goods and services. Is it going up? Is there more demand for people wanting to buy things and do well? In market parlance, we look at something called the all-share index, which is essentially like an average of how prices of all the securities in the market. Remember, securities in the market represent the value of the companies. The companies in the market are the companies producing goods and services in the economy that we all consume. So if those companies are doing well, selling well, making money, then the value of those companies on the market is going up. And that means that the all-share index that measures the average of all the prices in the market will also go up. Good enough, in Q1, the return on the all-share index was positive at about 2.5%. Positive, some may say it's a bit small, but positive all the same. Growth is always good. If the market is struggling, then you're having a situation where the companies are not really doing well, people are looking to get out of the market, prices start to come down, the all-share index is negative.
I see. Well, now let's talk about again the average Nigerian. Maybe they're trying to invest and they're trying to look for where to, I wouldn't say double their money because there isn't that, but where to put their money so that it grows and it means that more children of the money for them. And so when we look at the stocks and the bonds, why should they care, or what are the things to look out for in terms of the market's performance such that they know where to put their money?
So in terms of the average Nigerian, I always advise that people should go through the guidance of professional investment advisors rather than try and jump into the market yourself. And the logic is similar to something like this. If you wanted to rent a house, would you all by yourself go around, look for some vacant sign and just pay? Or would you rather do some due diligence, find out if in this area, does it flood? Do they have power? Is there water supply to their taps? Those sort of things are things that the advisors, professional advisors, that are made it their life's work to look at those areas and guide you and be able to provide you the information that matters before you buy, will be able to give you. Same way, if you want to invest in the market, I would advise you go through things like collective investment schemes, which is essentially the average people putting money together with a professional that would inform you then what sectors are doing well in the economy generally, and as well as which companies in those sectors are good to invest in. That's how I would go about it.
Just take me to be the representative of the average Nigerian, and I'm going to break it down into bits, assimilable bits. Now, in terms of putting the money in the markets, do you give your money to this person who's like the intermediary to put in the market for you, or they're going to tell you, advise you, this is where you should put the money, and then you can go ahead on your own?
So it works two ways. One is to actually participate in the market, you have to actually go through an intermediary. Any which way, those are dealers in the market. They are registered and licensed to be able to buy and sell on the market. So either way, you are going through an intermediary. Now, you could either give that money to an intermediary and pay through that intermediary and say, look, use your discretion and invest for me, bearing in mind that you and that advisor would have actually discussed your own personal circumstances, and he or she will give you the information to let you know what types of investments, be it equity or fixed income, are good for you, given your situation. What I mean by giving your situation is something like this. So take, for instance, towards the end of the year, you happen to have some spare cash and you're looking to invest, but there's school fees in January. So that person will let you understand the characteristics of equities market, that the prices could go up or down. Will let you have the characteristics of fixed income market, that the prices could go up or down, or also give you advice like things like, do you want to just do a fixed deposit for the tenure before school fees come? Especially if you actually would need that money to pay fees. So those sort of guidance is important before you jump and buy a security, and then all of a sudden you are pressured, you need cash, and you're saying, oh, the market didn't favor me.
Thank you. On a final note on that one, and this is where I'm really going, are there some markers or some characteristics to look out for before choosing the person you decide to make your intermediary, or anyone, as long as they are in that field, will be professional enough to help you through?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'll answer it this way. It's always good and necessary for you to do your due diligence in everything that we do. The same way I brought up the analogy of saying if you were going to rent a house, there are multiple real estate agents out there, but you would either act on which real estate agent you deal with on the basis of a referral, or you look at maybe their past performance, information you can find on them, how have they performed. If, for instance, like I said, I prefer to advise people to go through something called a collective investment scheme, which is all of us putting money together and having a professional manager manage that money for us. It's easy to check on public available information, even on the Securities and Exchange Commission website, that's the regulator for the market, and you'll be able to see the performance of each one of these collective investment schemes, who has performed well, who has not performed well, who is in good standing with the regulator, that's very important, and who is not. And within that, you can essentially then cherry pick the people that you can go and talk to, and also you do your own gut feel and how it works out between both of you. So yes, you do have to do your due diligence. You do have to look at who's performing well or who has performed well historically. It's always not a guarantee of future performance, but at least it's a start.
Good, fair enough. Thank you. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, you are listening to Lagos Talks. It's a part of Smooth Breakfast that airs every weekday from 9 till 10, and Lagos Talks is about diverse issues. Today, it's a Lagos Talks special, and we are talking about the capital markets Q1, identifying trends, and trying to look at what we have ahead, or hopefully have ahead in Q2. But beyond all of the numbers and the jargons, we're also letting you know the implication for the average Nigerian, which is why we're breaking it down into bits. And so if you have any questions, any area or any gray areas, you can send your questions, your contribution to 0809 444 0981. You can also join us on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Again, the number to send your messages to is 0809 444 0981. But if you'd like to ask your questions verbally, you can dial 0201 448 9981. We'll be right back after this.
90.
So we're just taking an ad break and then we come back.
Okay.
I'm not sure particularly. Go on, please.
I hope I try to stay away from numbers, sectors, and all those just to keep it conversational. I hope it's okay.
Yeah, very helpful, very clear, very relatable. I feel like you could pass for my economics teacher. And that would be good.
Very kind.
Showmugs.com. What can your bank do for you? Jen, 25 years old. She's been having troubles acquiring a loan from her bank.
This is not okay at all. I've been on this queue forever, and you're saying I should fill another form.
What can your bank do for you? Meet Frank, 27 years old, held up in traffic and making fruitless transactions.
Electricity charges. It's so difficult.
Producing suffering.
So I was going to ask, I'm not sure I heard it or maybe I missed it, if you addressed any standout trends in Q1 2025. I'm not sure
Okay, I
you
can
did.
do that. I didn't.
Yes, we do that and then we go into the projections for Q2.
Okay.
Here's your breakfast show on Smooth.
I'm not in there now.
Love music, love life. You're listening to Smooth 98.1, and this segment of Smooth Breakfast is known as Lagos Talks. My name is Oluwaseun. And right now we're having the Lagos Stock special conversation about the markets, the capital markets, and its implication for the average Nigerian. My guest is joining me virtually, and you can find us on YouTube at Smooth 91 FM Lagos. My guest is the Chief Strategy Officer for Central Securities Clearing System PLC, and that's Femi Onifade. Now, let's get to understand the standout trends in the capital market for Q1 as we look forward to Q2. So what were some of those standout trends?
Okay, so over Q1, like I said, broadly, the market returned a positive return for Q1, and this is on track to end positively. We saw quite a lot of activity within spaces like banking, consumer sector doing well. If you look at it on a year-on-year basis, we also saw, as at the end of February at least, that the market, there was a higher value of transactions done relative to January, February 2024. March has been a bit soft in terms of the value of activities being done. It rounds up today, so let's see what the market gives us today. But generally, we expect that going into Q2, one of the things that we believe affected Q1 volume of our transactions, again, was the fact that last year, towards the end of Q3 and into Q4, if you recall, there were quite a number of banks that came to the market to raise capital. So that sort of primary market activity tends to mean that people have already invested and they're already in positions going into the next quarter, which was Q1. Now, Q2 is always beautiful. That's when you start to get company results coming out, earnings seasons is playing out, and then of course, investors, and particularly domestic investors, love dividends. So dividends are being declared. Those sort of things bring back activity to the market. And you start to see people getting in to try and tap into dividends, take advantage of the new measure of company performance, and get a gauge for the outlook for that particular company in terms of what their strategic plans are. You have analysts. This is why I said go through professional investment advisors who do calls with these companies, do research, visit the companies, and can give you insights with regards to what's happening. So on our side, we expect Q2 to have an uptick in terms of activity. Of course, there are always clouds out there. From the global scene, you have things with tariff wars being touted left, right, center. You have a slowdown in the pace of monetary rates being reduced as against how we expected it. For instance, the Federal Reserve in the US recently held its rates when we thought they were in a reduction path. And those sort of things also limit how foreign investors invest in other markets. So those are, if you like, some of the cloudy effects. But ultimately, we think Q2 will be more upbeat than Q1 was.
So we're hoping, I suppose.
Always hoping.
Because I'm about to ask what the retail investors should be thinking about in their participation in the capital market for Q2.
Talk to your investment advisor. Try and identify, if you like dividends, identify dividend-paying stocks. Some companies are pretty consistent with regards to paying dividends, particularly looking at where they are in their life cycle. Look for value stocks if you have excess savings that you can hold for a long time. And there are always opportunities in the market at every point in time.
You call it excess savings. The average Nigerian calls it money that you're not using. So in other words, if you have money that you're not using, maybe you should put it away in the markets. But are there measures to maybe protect first-time investors or the newbies in the markets who are coming into the market for the first time? Are there any measures other than you just doing your due diligence? If things go south, is there any sort of protection?
Absolutely. And that's where market infrastructures like the Central Securities Clearing System, CSCS for short, come into play, as well as the regulator. So the regulator generally has a core mandate of investor protection. And in carrying out and operationalizing that in the market, you have market infrastructures like the CSCS that ensures that your investments, if you're going through an intermediary, if you recall, and when you go through that intermediary, you're going to give your money to that intermediary. The question is that person actually opening an account for me to invest in the market? Your account being open is open at the CSCS, and CSCS will notify you, for instance, that this account has been opened in your name. When the securities are bought, you get a notification through our X Alert service, for instance, that this security has just been bought for you at this price. So you don't even have to worry, this person told me they bought it at 2 naira. Was it really 2 naira? How do I know it wasn't 150? So the price traded on the market is sent to you to inform you. Your statement in the market in terms of what you own and what is known to be yours is available to you through the Central Securities Clearing System as well. So we provide the infrastructure to ensure that all participants in the market are able to participate fairly with confidence, and their risk investments and interests are protected.
That sounds good. Now, meanwhile, I see something in the background. Your what's it called? Yeah, your background, I believe. Something about the conference. Because now, what caught my eyes was the infrastructures, which was something you mentioned as you explained. So, what's that about?
Oh, excellent. So CSCS is a leading member of an association called the African and Middle East Depositories Association. That's the AMIDA, we have there for short. And what AMIDA is an association made up of 34 members across 32 countries. And these countries span Africa as well as the Middle East. As you know, in terms of untapped potential, economic potential, it's seen that Africa and the Middle East represent the highest value, so to say, of untapped economic potential in the world today. It's almost like the final frontier. So what this association is a collection of the market infrastructures. Remember, the market infrastructures enable the markets to work. And we come together to essentially deliberate on how these infrastructures can learn, collaborate, and also innovate to help our economies to thrive, boost market activity, and essentially make it easier, more efficient for investors such as the average Nigerian to be able to access markets of interest and create wealth in a sustainable manner. So the conference is going to hold between the 23rd to the 25th of April. And for the first time, we're hosting it in Nigeria. Now, the significance of that is that this demonstrates the leadership effort that the CSCS has been playing within the capital market space globally. And bringing this conference to Nigeria for the first time is a testament to being able to showcase Nigeria's potential for leadership in galvanizing people to action and in creating wealth for nations.
So who is this conference for? Because, we're thinking about the average Nigerian. Who's it for?
Ultimately, it is for the average Nigerian, because as we expand and bring investments into Nigeria, remember that thing of the GDP, that creates more wealth that every Nigerian, the average Nigerian, can potentially tap into. And that is what the core of it is, really.
All right, so anyone can attend, or who should think of attending?
So attendance at this is really by invitation, because remember, it's an association event. And that association event brings about both regulators, policymakers, global business leaders. We will have attendance not just from Africa and Middle East countries, but also from Europe, the Americas, and even Asia. So we're essentially bringing the world here.
Okay. And we hope that it turns out really well for the world here. Thank you very much for your time and the clarity that you've given this morning. But let me say, someone is just tuning in for the first time and you've taken us through all the things about the Q1, the Q2 projection. If there's something you want someone to take out of this conversation today, what would it be?
I think one thing that is key to take out of the conversation today is it's always good to invest. It's always good to invest properly. Go through recognize professional investors, and make sure that the CSCS represents your interests in the market.
All right. Thank you. And you can go back to the YouTube stream in case you're just joining us for the first time to understand the background and what the capital markets, how it is determined by your actions and, well, inactions as well. YouTube is at Smooth 981 FM Lagos, at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. We're done for this morning on Lagos Talks, and you know it will be great music all the way till the end of the show because Smooth Breakfast here, we love music and we love life. Thank you again for your time this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you for listening. My name is Oluwaseun. Thank you.